Right, so here we are at the ARLA regional meeting here in the wonderful Canary Wharf, just like Wolverhampton, not really.
Pretty impressive.
It is, and I'm here with the one and only Robert Bolwell, who does a lot of our legal updates around the country for ARLA, and I must admit, most of our members look forward to your updates because they are not only educational and extremely informative, they're also very entertaining as well. We've had a great one today talking about some real key topics. So please, Robert, what would you say is the key thing right now letting agents need to be thinking about?
I think we're going to anticipate what's going to be coming in the autumn. I mean, we've just had the Queen's speech where she devoted 25 words to housing issues, 25. But then the government paper that followed hard on the heels of the Queen's speech talked about a new bill where we're going to be banning letting agents' fees to tenants. We're going to be possibly limiting how much we can charge as a deposit. We're going to be limiting what we can take as a holding deposit. So a lot of agents now are going to feel very unsure themselves, very unsteady, but you know, this is going to be a long way off. We've got Brexit to get through, there's going to be a lot of legislation going through, and to be honest, if we see anything like this by April of next year, I'll be pleasantly surprised, shall we say. But let's take it a step at a time. The other thing I think we've got to think about at the moment is the anti-money laundering stuff. I know technically a lot of the anti-money laundering legislation doesn't apply to people who just do lettings, but how many letting agents have that clause in their T&Cs which says we are entitled to a commission if we sell the property to the tenant we find? Now, in the eyes of the revenue, that would actually make them an estate agent, a selling agent, not just a letting agent.
So just having that clause in the contract saying that in the event of the tenant buying the property, you're saying in the eyes of HMRC, they're an estate agent. Well, that's going to reach a lot of people, isn't it?
It is, and you know, HMRC in the past have handed down fines to people in that situation who have not followed through on the anti-money laundering procedure. They haven't got a compliance officer, they haven't got the right paperwork in place, and they've had a fine. So I think for people who think they are just a letting agent, go back to your T&Cs, have a reread what you signed up with the landlord, and if needs be, get on the phone to the revenue. It costs barely £100 to register for anti-money laundering purposes, and let's get the paperwork in place.
So we've had the Queen's speech, the Tenant Fee Ban, we've had the changes in relation to money laundering. What about the Immigration Act? I mean, you've just listened to your presentation there, and criminal offences now for letting agents for getting this wrong. So what should we be doing in our businesses right now to protect ourselves on that one?
I think just carrying on doing what the majority of ARLA agents do anyway. Make sure your checks are bona fide. Any queries, refer you to the ARLA Helpline or get a specialist referencing company to give you some assistance. Just make sure your file is up to date, and don't forget that when you come to the end of a tenancy, you're going to have to contact the tenant, and if they are an immigrant, find out if their visa's been renewed or they've got the right to stay here, because if not, in certain circumstances it can be up to 5 years in prison.
That's quite scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now I know you run the helpline for ARLA. Dutton Gregory runs the helpline for ARLA, and you get thousands of calls from letting agents.
Thousands.
What would you say is the most common topic that you get calls about right now?
Probably Section 21 notices. I mean, there are still people who don't quite appreciate that since October 2015 we've had a new form. A lot of people don't appreciate that for the next 12 months or so anyway, you can still use the old form if there's an old tenancy, because the rules change, say, on the 1st of October. So that is very, very common. But apart from that, no, we get all gamut of calls. I mean, we've got 9,500 members just today, which is absolutely incredible. And there are only 12 of us on the helpline. So, you know, what I'd say to members, if they can't get through, you know, call back later, or please bear with us, because ARLA is now such an incredibly successful organisation. You know, we've got growing pains like all organisations do, facing these sort of issues.
And if any members or any people out there, any letting agents out there, are struggling with particular legal cases or prosecutions or actions, is that something you'd help with as well?
Absolutely, give us a call. And say that the helpline is free for members. Just have your membership number to hand when we pick up the phone. We don't mind chatting through a case. If for whatever reason you feel the landlord's lawyer has let them down, we don't mind reviewing a case. We don't generally charge that, and you know, there are extreme circumstances where we'll happily take a case on a fee-paying basis. But no, phone us up. It's better to phone and get that reassurance from one of the qualified staff at Dutton Gregory than not phone and perhaps have a sleepless night, because we've all had those from time to time, I know.
We certainly have. Thank you very much, Robert Bolwell from Dutton Gregory. Thank you.
Thank you
very much. Bye-bye.